Welcome back, students. We have already gone through the lecture comprising the motivating some of the facts toward the hypersonic speeds, and I believe that now we are ready to take a new step towards understanding the hypersonic flows and hypersonic vehicles. History has seen a huge growth in the aerospace industry or aerospace field in the last 100 years, and starting from a very struggle to get airborne, now people have gone into the hypersonic stage, hypersonic era. There are basically two dates which are very famous and very important in the hypersonic experiences. These two dates are February 24, 1949 and April 12, 1961. What actually happened during these two important dates? On February 24, 1949, a rocket V2 Walk Corporal was launched from the White Sand Proving Ground Test Range. This was a German rocket. It was brought from Germany, and then it was fired. Actually, this V2 is a separate rocket, and then Walk Corporal was another small separate rocket which was fired along with the V2 to achieve some special mission, and it was experimented, and then it was found that it actually given a threshold in the era of hypersonic speeds. V2 itself is actually a small rocket. It's a single stage rocket, and this whole episode was actually done to achieve and understand and demonstrate a usage of multi-staging in the towards acquiring and achieving a higher speed and higher altitude. So the first V2 rocket was fired, and it went up to 100 mile at an altitude, and attained the velocity of almost 3,500 miles per hour. And at this time, the Walk Corporal was ignited, and the cylinder upper stage, if you can see this is actually V2 rocket, single stage rocket. On the top of it a Walk Corporal is attached. So it is fired along with this, and initially only the V2 rocket was fired, and at some certain time then Walk Corporal was also ignited. This ignition happened at about 100 miles above the surface of the earth, and at that time the whole body together was moving with a speed of 3,500 miles per hour. When this Walk Corporal was fired, it attained another speed, and the firing was strong enough to carry over, and the whole mass of the V2 was detached, so it was able to achieve a larger speed and at a higher distance. So it could accelerate at a maximum velocity of 5150, so actually the 5,150 miles per hour, and reached an altitude of 244 miles. This broke the earlier record of 130 miles set by V2 rocket alone. When the V2 rocket was fired alone, it could go only up to the 130 miles above the surface of Earth, but both be fired together. After detaching the V2 rocket, the Walk Corporal alone was able to achieve a very higher altitude, that's something equal to 244 miles. After reaching the peak altitude, then the Walk Corporal started returning back towards the Earth, and at that time the real joy came, that when the Walk Corporal was about to enter into the Earth's atmosphere, its speed was something like 5,000 miles per hour. In doing so, it became the first object of human origin to achieve hypersonic flight. It was the first time any vehicle has flown at a speed 5 times faster than the speed of sound. So almost Mach 25 was achieved by having the multi-staging, and that was a successful experiment done on the V2 Walk Corporal combination. An interesting part of the story is that when this was landed, the whole trajectory of the Walk Corporal plus V2 was actually tracked by using, say, some the pen plotter, which are plotting this whole trajectory. And finally, when the corporal was returned to the Earth, the trajectory was shown that it has actually landed on the Earth's surface, but it was never found. They tried to find the remains, but it was never found. Almost after 1 year, they were able to find a part of it, part of the tail of the walk corporal, and something like its burnt switches were found, but the whole body was never found. Nonetheless, they were able to achieve a hypersonic range speed, and that was good enough. We can see here also the walk corporal firing along with the V2 rocket. It's the first stage. So actually the V2 rocket is firing by taking the walk corporal as its payload. Those who have understood the multi-staging, they will know very well that when the first stage is firing, all the other stages are taken as the payload, because they are not firing and they just keep waiting for their turn. So by having this combination, they demonstrated that the maximum speed, maximum velocity was achieved by something like equal to 5150 mile per hour, and maximum altitude it could reach was 244 miles. And during re-entry, it re-entered into the Earth's atmosphere with a huge speed of 5000 miles per hour, and that was the successful objective which was achieved. On another occasion, on April 12, 1961, a strange looking object landed just now under the canopy of parachute. The surface of capsule is charred by high temperature, and it contained 3 windows covered with heat resisting glasses. What was this object actually? Actually, this object was a capsule which is containing the human body, and this human body was nobody else other than Captain Major Yuri Gagarin. He was the astronaut of Russia. He flew in a rocket. They named it Vostok 1, and with this rocket he entered into the space and into an orbit, and it went round the Earth. So actually this rocket took him, became satellite, and went into the Earth around the Earth once, and then it landed safely on the surface of Earth. So this was actually a orbital moment. So first astronaut going in the space, and then it was going around the Earth and coming back to the Earth safely. This was another very joyful and very highly achieving moment in the history of aerospace. While going round the Earth, it was not following any circular orbit. It was following some kind of elliptical orbit. So the distance of this object going around the Earth was at the apogee. It was something like 302 kilometer, and at the perigee, the nearest to the Earth, it was 175 kilometer. During re-entry, a retro rocket was fired. This was the rocket. This is the Vostok rocket, which actually took the entire payload, entire body, that went around the Earth in an orbit along with the Mr. Yuri Gagarin. This was the rocket fired. This rocket is, if you look at this rocket also is having some kind of special design. A special design, it means that the outer shape, if you look, this kind of outer shape normally not given by the Europeans or the Americans. It's a special kind of design normally conceived and mastered by the Russians. And also the nozzles are not just one nozzle, they have a nozzlets. These kind of nozzles are called nozzlets. They have a small nozzles. So small nozzles give a little bit lower thrust, but if you have many number of nozzles, this total number of thrust will be actually enhanced, and the small number of nozzles, the smaller size of the nozzles reduces a lot of other problems which could be caused in the bigger nozzles. So this is a good design they have mastered. So they use this nozzlet kind of design and fired this Vostok 1 rocket along with the payload, which was containing the orbital object, and the Mr. Yuri Gagarin. This is Vostok 1. Here is your that orbital object which went around the Earth, and then you have the capsule type of object which is actually holding the astronaut, and this is the retro rocket. The retro rocket is used to retrieve the object back from the orbit if anything goes wrong, or if suppose you want the rocket or object to come back or satellite to come back, they use the retro rocket, and some arrangements are made to make sure that the speed with which it lands on the Earth is low enough to not to cause any harm or damage to the body. So that parachute was utilized in this case, and this retro rocket was fired when it was intended to come back. It was a successful landing of this rocket on the face of Earth, and that was the moment when a manned mission was actually achieved, and man went into the space and had a one round around the Earth, and they came back safely and landed safely. That was a really achieving moment, and this whole thing just took something like 108 minutes. The precious 108 minutes. So it means that 108 minutes back, the man, Mr. Yuri Gagarin, was sitting in his rocket, just erected rocket, and then he was waiting for the countdown to finish, and once it finished, it fired, and it went around the Earth and then came back again after making one orbit around the Earth in just 100 minutes. So try to understand the speed it might be going at a very high speed actually. So this was the manned mission which was done to achieve the hypersonic speeds and go in the space. These two missions have actually given a big boosting for the aerospace engineers or aerospace scientists to actually look for the very high speed. In both the cases, the hypersonic speed were achieved. Here is a schematic design. It's actually not the actual. It's a artist impression. It's not actual picture. It's artist impression. It is showing the scientists resting inside, and these are the retro rocket arrangements and all. Various types of machines are available. This whole thing went around the Earth once and then came back after the successful orbiting to the Earth. This is the body which landed. So you can see this is just the capsule which has landed, and by looking at its condition, you can just realize that what would happen if there is a small design flaw or something like some crack found in the body on the surface. The whole everything inside, including the human, will be charred actually. Huge temperature when it re-enters into the Earth's atmosphere. A huge speed generates a very high temperature because of the air friction, and then the outer surface become very large, very hot, and that heat had to be shielded. Whole thing has been almost charred up. You can see that, and then it had landed. This is the parachute strings and all. So landed safely by reducing the speed, and successful landing was done for a human manned mission. These two events played as a threshold to the in the era or in the field of hypersonic speeds, and people have started actually going for more and more hypersonic speeds, and more missions and many number of experiments were started taking place. And that time, that year especially 1961, when the Botsok event took place, became a bumper year for the hypersonic events and all. On May 5 on the same year, Alan B. Shepard became the second man in the space. So after this, Mr. Yuri Gagarin, Mr. Alan B. Shepard entered into the space and landed safely. So people were just rejoiced because now they have conquered the sky long back, conquered the air long back, and started flying. Now they have started conquering the space, and they are going in the space and coming back. Space travel will be possible one day. Everything was actually thinking with this way, but right now, till now, at least some missions have successfully done. The other interesting fact about this machine is that this machine which went in the space is this machine was called something like X-15. It was an experimental machine made to experiment. So no specific design objective or something like mission objective was specified while designing. It was meant to achieve higher and higher performance, and performance in the sense higher and higher altitude and higher velocity. This X-15 was designed to do those kind of things. So first time this Alan B. Shepard actually entered, and he went to the space and came back. The interesting part of this machine is that it was having some kind of it's aerospace vehicle. It was going on by like a rocket, but it was aerospace vehicle. So it was not totally designed like to operate in the space. They wanted it to behave to some kind of aerodynamic design was also done on this thing to make sure it's actually behave well in the atmosphere also. The man you see here is not he's not Alan B. Shepard. The main hero standing behind is actually is NASA's X-15 experimental airplane. That's the main hero. This man is different man. His name is something like Joey. He's the Air Force officer, some kind of Mr. Joey. This is your U.S. Air Force X-15. It's designed to go clear the Earth, go to a space, and then come back also. But it was not like a shuttle. It was a different design as a whole. And this was just experimental design. So many people started using it. So other man, you saw that he also used it and he went in the space. He also came back. That man, if you talk about this Mr. Joey, he has taken almost 16 flights to going in the space and coming back successfully. But actually the person being second to go in the space goes to Mr. Alan B. Shepard. Then this is the design. Now if you look at the speed and altitude which has gone in the timeline, that was amazing. In the field of aerospace, I always think and state it without any hesitation that the growth and the progress what we have seen in the field of aerospace is uncomparable compared to any other field, like talk about medicine field, or talk about this mechanical engineering field, or something like any other electrical engineering field. The aerospace has grown like anything. Just think, like almost 100 years back, something like 1903, we are actually difficult to get airborne, so we started to fly, and the very first successful flight was actually at 35 mile per hour at the sea level. Altitude was just airborne. Being airborne itself was a great achievement at the time. So we are not thinking of going in the space or going in the sky very high. So just 35 mile per hour at the sea level, just like a car. But you got airborne. That itself was a big joy for every humankind. So this was the big feat there. Then came the some kind of airplane where we are having at the World War II. They were actually able to fly at 400 miles per hour. Hardly. How many distance is there? Something like World War II 1945 or something, 1903. So only 50 years. 40 to 45 years. We were able to take airplane at a speed of 400 miles per hour, and that was actually able to rise the altitude at something like 30,000 feet. Then after some certain time, something like in 1960, where in 1961 this Vostok event took place, the first manned flight in the space. In 1960 we are having some airplane which are actually able to fly at 1200, so 1200 miles per hour. And they were flying supersonic flight. The supersonic speed was there. At the time, the hypersonic speed was not experienced, but supersonic speed was there, and they were able to go at 60,000 feet. This was great. In August 23, 1963, the X-15, which we discussed just now, this was the one which flew at Mach number 7 at altitude. So this was actually aerospace vehicle. This was actually designed to fly in the air as well as in the aerospace, in the space. So this vehicle actually was able to go at Mach number 6. Prior to that, there are some other man, something called Mr. Robert White, Mr. Major Robert White. He was also able to fly with the same experimental X-15 up to Mach 5.3 or Mach 6. But this was this went beyond all the records of the X-15, and finally it was able to achieve Mach 7 at an altitude of 3 354,200 feet. This is almost equal to 21 kilometer, 21 kilometer or 23 kilometers. Very high. Or I think it's more than that. Anyway, perhaps like this. But a space shuttle. So these are the, if you look at the history line, this was the history line. We saw this going from 35 mile per hour to something like 7 Mach per hour. But these are the frequent flights. What we are looking at, at right now is the flight which are very common, frequently we are having, and we have confidence in this. It's not like one time achievement. It's not like we have something like you plan something and then try plan something and then you start programming for last 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Then you have one flight. This is these flights are not that type of flights. These are successfully you design some plane, make a nice arrangement, and people will be able to fly frequently at a particular speed. Yes, if you make little improvement, you can fly at a higher speed and achieve the higher altitude. But these are the frequent flyers, and they keep flying by as the experiment. But in all this area of successful achievement and keep flying and going time to time, and then a frequent flyer type of experiments, if you talk about, or travel, if you talk about, the best performance and the highest performance given is by the space shuttle, which actually re-enters into the Earth's atmosphere at Mach 25. It's Mach 25. So I think we have seen these kind of vehicles already, pictures, and we will just display this thing in the further classes. These are frequent vehicles which are actually going the very frequent flight they are having. So in these kind of frequent flyers, this space shuttle tops, they go to the 25 Mach. But if you talk about all the flights which have taken place in the space, then in that case the Apollo spacecraft leads the race. This Apollo spacecraft, which is same one which has actually which has taken the people to the moon and brought them back. Especially they achieved that high speed while bringing them back in the and while re-entering, they entered something like they entered with the Mach number 36, bringing 3 astronauts successfully from the moon to the Earth surface. They achieved the highest Mach number till now, that is 36 in 1969, and this is actually followed by another event, that is Vostok. We saw that Vostok was the first human flight, manned flight in the space. That is still standing second, along with other something like Gemini and the Mercury missions. They all normally have their Mach number during re-entry something like 25. Once the spacecraft re-enters inside the atmosphere, its speed starts coming down because the huge friction, temperature goes high, and the speed starts coming down because it gives a drag. So the speed with which they enter into the atmosphere, that itself is the biggest speed we assume, and we design our all plane for that kind of particular speed. These are the one-time achievements, or something like achieving moments. It's not frequent flyers. In the frequent flyers, still the Apollo stands, space shuttle stands the top, because that re-enters with the Mach number 25. Good. So these are the historical events. We have seen this thing, how man has conquered the hypersonic speeds, starting from the Mach number 30, that 35 mile per hour speed in the Wright brothers flyer. In the next session, we'll try to see what are the basic differences between the supersonic and the hypersonic vehicles, and how they differ in the design as well as in theoretical aspect. Till then, thank you very much.